Words cannot begin to express what is at stake down here. Not just a way of life, but an entire ecosystem. Its future and its very existence is weighing in the balance here. We went out on the water yesterday with 3 key players in the disaster and this giant oil gusher that continues to pour out of the bottom of the sea here in the Gulf of Mexico. We're out with Governor Bobby Jindal from the state of Louisiana, Plaquemines Parish President Billy Nussgusser, and BP's Bob Dudley.
It's on the water where you can see and you can smell that something is terribly wrong here.
It was so interesting. We came through that pass, and as soon as we came out in the open Gulf, you're supposed to smell a sea and that fresh smell of being on the open water. And as soon as we came in the pass, you could smell oil.
You could smell it, and it's also what you didn't see. That's 160 feet deep right there. It's one of the richest areas to go get shrimp. Unfortunately, this oil, it's around us as far as you can see.
The oil keeps coming, lapping onto the seashore and seeping into the biggest wetland system in the United States.
So you flew over it today, you saw there's nothing between the open water, then the wetlands, and then the densely populated cities. This is our first line of defense. It's an ecosystem. There's no check big enough that'll compensate us for the damage that's being done to this wildlife, these wetlands. It's not about money, it's about keeping this oil out in the first place.
But that is a battle against tremendous odds. By the most conservative estimates, more than 20 million gallons of oil have gushed into the Gulf. Some experts believe the real number may be closer to 200 million gallons.
This is a war out here.
This is a war.
If you don't win this war, what happens?
We're going to win this war. This is our way of life. We have no choice but to win this war. This is not only our coastline, this is how Louisianians for generations have lived and made a living. We're tough people. We got through Katrina, we got through Rita, we got through Gustav, we got through Ike. We're going to get through this.
This is worse.
We're going to get through this. But this is war. This threatens our way of life, and I tell our people, it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be done overnight. It's going to be a marathon. We're going to need BP to be accountable. We're going to need the federal government to hold them accountable. But we have got to get this done. There's no choice. There's no option. Failure is not an option. No fish, no shrimp.
Bob Dudley of BP was actually witnessing the disaster in person for the first time. He looked like a man who had seen his own ghost.
That has been a kill zone.
When you see this, what goes through your brain? Because this is your oil.
That's right, and we're going to clean it up. We're going to keep at this for years. We're not going away. We're not going to cut and run. We're going to throw the resources of BP at it to clean it up.
Do you feel guilty when you see it?
I just feel sad. I've been working in the oil and gas industry my whole career. You know, it provides a product that people need as energy, and all of us can't believe this has happened. It has happened now. We've got to put aside that grief, and we all feel that way, because we're just people, but we've got to focus right now on cleaning it up and staying with it.
Folks on the Gulf are enraged. Anger fuels the energy they throw at this mess every day. Honestly, they have no choice.
Anyone that comes down here and sees this and doesn't think this is on the verge of being the worst national disaster we've ever seen, you got to touch and feel it.
It's still bubbling out of that hole.
Unless we look the American people in the eyes and say we're doing everything physically possible, BP has failed, our federal government has failed, and I failed as a parish president. And until we do that, shame on us all.
And here's the other part of the reality. It took weeks for this oil to get to these beaches and to get into these marshlands down here. And what folks here know is this is really only the beginning of the battle. Maggie?
Harry, I know that Governor Jindal has been pushing to get those barrier islands built to keep the oil somewhat at bay. He'd gotten approval for that. Any word on when that might begin?
Yeah, they've started that, and it seems to really be working, and working quite effectively, because they realize if they can stop the oil with sand before it gets back into the marshland, before it gets into these highly sensitive ecosystems back here, that they've got a chance of beating this oil. And once it gets on the sand, they can scrape it off, let the oil come in, scrape it off again, scrape it off again. That really seems to be working, and they're feeling very optimistic about it. We'll have a lot more from down here in a little while. Maggie?
Some good news. We'll take it. Harry, thank you so much.
A lot happens early on The Early Show, weekday mornings on CBS.